Okay, so good morning. Could you tell us about yourself and your vocation?
Okay, well, my name is Jay, as you know, and I serve as the minister to youth and church at White Rock Baptist Church in West Philadelphia. And as a part of that, I became introduced to Interfaith Philadelphia through the Walking the Walk program, where we engaged our high school students of different faith traditions to do work and to do religious education, to learn about other religions. And so we're doing that since the beginning. And I was just very excited about that. And more, I became involved with some of the things that Interfaith Philadelphia was doing. And then almost 2 years ago, I was invited to work with their Zones of Peace initiative. This is an initiative of the Religious Leaders Council. And the Religious Leaders Council came together and they'd been meeting for a while. And they said, okay, how can we begin to do things more in the community? And so one idea that came up was let's do zones of peace where we recognize groups that are working toward peace. And so that began, I think, in 2008. And so they've been able to identify different groups that are doing work toward peace. We get together, we interview with them. We then come back, we present a banner that says, this is a zone of peace. We place their information in our newsletters, on our website, just to begin to give them give the public more information about what they're doing. And then in addition, what we're trying to do is to bring these groups together. So currently there are like 98 different groups that have been identified as zones of peace. And so currently what we're working to do is bringing them into conversations with each other and work to build in collaborations. And so that's the direction that we're going with that at this point. And so we're pretty excited about that. I'm excited about the peace work that Interfaith Philadelphia is doing on so many arenas with the different groups that they're addressing, different demographics that they're addressing. And they're doing this with a view toward getting this whole city, this whole region, to a place of peace, where we are able to have difficult conversations, where we're able to work together, and where we're able to collaborate and do the work that we're doing. One thing I'm impressed with the Zones of Peace initiative is that when you look at different groups, they're working really hard, they're doing amazing work, but because they're so entrenched in the work they're doing, oftentimes they don't recognize or not aware of other groups that are down the street who are doing work that is complementary to theirs. And so prayerfully, we'll be able to work these collaborations so that the several groups in one area will be able to work together even more, so that this area can be considered a zone of peace. And perhaps, over time, everywhere you walk, you will see these banners to know that this is a place of peace in spite of, all of the violence that is around us. So that's what I do. Um, and the thing that has drawn me to that is being able to ask is the idea of embracing others, accepting others. Growing up in a small town, we're pretty much, we're pretty much um, all related and, very similar in values, very similar in backgrounds and so forth. But the thing that we did learn, though, as we began to travel around, my dad would take us on summer vacations and we'd travel around and we'd meet so many other people, and we had to embrace them. We had to learn, we learned about other people, and we learned that even though they were a little different, but we're still the same, and we can all work together, play together, eat together. And so that was sort of a start, and then it just really blossomed more when I came here to Philadelphia, and began to engage more and more with people of other faith traditions, and in doing so, learning even more about my own. So that's about where I am at this point. Thank you.
Beautiful work that you're doing. And I can really see how the background that you came from and this idea that it was okay to be with others that were different. And there was this common humanity and this love between people. I can see how that would have catapulted you into wanting to do this kind of work. Yeah.
Yes, it just, I'm surprised. Um, yeah, I'm surprised at how the things that seem so insignificant when we're younger, how they really propel us and how they really impact us as we get older.
Definitely. So what does the word peace mean to you?
Um, the word peace to me, when I think of that, I think of integrated. I think of integrity. I think of integral. I think of oneness. And all those words mean one. And so to me, peace is being at one within yourself, at one with creation, at one with the creator, at one with those around us, with all of humanity. And I think that is what peace is not just the cessation of violence. Peace is not just isolating oneself from all externals, but rather peace is being able to be at one with others, and not seeking to make others like you, or be like them, but to be yourself fully, to embrace yourself fully, and then being able to engage with others and embrace them fully. Um, I like the term that I heard, dialectic dialogue, where we all bring all of ourselves together in conversation with each other. And in doing so, we're able to really recognize our similarities, our differences, and appreciate all of that. So peace to me, when I think of the word peace, I think of integrated.
So that's really significant because I think that many people think that, oh, well, we'll have peace if we run away from our own issues or our conflicts with other people and groups. But it sounds like you're saying that peace comes from allowing yourself to experience that and work through it and integrate it and come to some type of understanding within yourself.
Howard Thurman, he wrote a piece called the "An Island of Peace Within One's Soul." And I love that piece because he says you're there by yourself and you're embracing who you are, what you do, your dreams, your hopes, your failures, all of that. You're accepting all of that, and you're presenting that before the divine. And in doing so, you come to be at this place where you know that you are accepted, you know you are forgiven, you know that all of these aspects of you are aspects of you. And and when you do that, then you're able to really look to others and bring in others. I like that.
Beautiful. So how do people get there? What advice would you give them to kind of arrive at that?
I think one way is to address our fears. We have so many fears, fears within ourselves, fears of others, fears of the unknown. And I think that if we can just begin to face our fears, that would be a starting point. I know that I will fail. I know that I have failed. I know that um, I am good at this, but I'm not good at that. I know that um, I can go certain places, but and comfortably, and other places I'm not comfortable. And so I guess it's to get to work address these fears, the fear of the stranger, um, and the fear of what's happening in the world around us. I think that if we can stop and look and just face these fears. um, I was watching my daughter and I, we were watching a cartoon that we watch in the morning, and one of the kids is walking through the night, through the dark. It takes place in Alaska, and one of the kids is walking and it's dark, and he sees this image, the shadow. He's so afraid of it, and the kids go back and they're so afraid of it. They're so afraid of it. But then they come back and it's daylight, and they see it's just a mound of snow around a tree. It's like, oh, that's not a monster at all. And so when we stop and just look at these things that we're so afraid of, I think that we can begin to um, stand against that fear. Um, and then as far as the fear of the stranger, that's just something that's not known yet. And we can choose to open our eyes and open our hearts and get to know that, or we can reject that and remain in a place of fear. And so when we do that, I think that is a beginning point to getting peace within ourselves. Then again, going back to the integrated self, uh, we can begin to move around and embrace others. So I think that's how we can begin to get there.
So if we face our own fears, we can stand with others, perhaps, maybe.
Yeah, that's a start. Yeah, if I can face my own fears, because usually, I'm going to project onto others, what's in myself.
Yeah,
If I have addressed that, then it will make life easier. It will make the engagement easier with others. Good point. Yes, thank you.
right. So what do you think needs to happen for different groups of people that might not get along with each other, whether that's different faiths or political groups or ethnic groups? What do you think needs to happen for all of us to find peace with each other?
We sorely underestimate the power of communication. We underestimate the power of conversation. And to be able to come and have an authentic conversation, I think that that is something that begins to bring communities together. There's a group in Philadelphia called New Conversations on Race and Ethnicity. And all they do is come together and talk. And one of the leaders of the group, I used to tease him, and I would say, all you do is talk. and,
Yeah,
and then as I listened more, I came to discover how much change came about by just talking. We sorely underestimate the power of being in conversation with each other. There was one year, it was a year of civil conversations that Interfaith Philadelphia was working on, along with other groups. And throughout the year, they were bringing groups together and teaching people how can we just have an authentic conversation, remain civil in our conversations, and hear. One of the challenges is hearing. We don't hear. We don't stop to listen. I'm always prepared with my response before I hear your statement. And so to bring communities together, to have them talk to each other. And that's one of the things we're doing with Zones of Peace when we're trying to have these quarterly conversations among the different groups. And we just ask them, tell us something about yourself, tell us what you're doing. Let's get together in groups. Let's just talk about some of the things that we're facing. And we come to discover that we are facing a lot. We're all facing the same challenges, and we all have our views of how we can address it. And hopefully, I can look as we talk to each other, we can discover you address this one way, I address this another way. And perhaps, if the five of us come together and address this same thing, then perhaps that's going to make it even more successful. And many hands make lesser work. And so to bring communities together toward peace, I think a key a key aspect is bringing people together and allowing them, encouraging them to be in conversation with each other.
that's a very powerful thing to say. And I think the tendency for a lot of people or groups of people is if we have a conflict with somebody, if we have an issue with somebody, maybe we're going to avoid them.
Mhm.
But that never makes things better. I mean, how can you resolve some kind of conflict that you have unless you talk about it?
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of conflict, there's a group, they're working on restorative cities, restorative justice, to bring people together to talk about it, bring the community together to talk about the injury that has taken place, and then talk through it with both parties, with all parties who are impacted, and then from there move forward rather than putting them through the normal judiciary and isolating them somewhere, out on State Street, away from the community or somewhere else in Pennsylvania, and never having an opportunity to really engage in this conversation to find out, because we are more than a isolated incident. We're more than a particular thing that we've done. And so to be able to see all of that and embrace all of that, there are so many ways that we can come together and like this phrase is, restore our cities. Yes.
Yes, so there's a gold nugget in what you just said. We're more than what we've done. I love that. We're more than what we've done. I think that a lot of us tend to label ourselves and others or groups of people in terms of what has happened, and that tends to ignore the innate human dignity, the personhood, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, wow, you've really given us a lot to think about today.
Good.
You really have.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. This is thank you for reaching out. Thank you for thinking of us. I really appreciate the questions. You caused me to think about things in a different way than, and to stop and think about it. I appreciate that. And to be able to share some of these ideas, hopefully it will stir other people to thinking more about peace and how we can get there. So I really appreciate that.
Right. And I always end by saying, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
Yes. I mean,
Amen.
all right.